OEMs, and VARs. Let's use Audio Technica as an example. One topic that doesn't get much attention, aside from in the vintage headphone forums, is the practice of rebranding headphones and selling those almost complete one-to-one copies under a different brand or for a different market. In this case, Audio Technica would be the OEM or original equipment manufacturer. Here are two so-called VAR headphones or value-added reseller copies. The Yamaha RH-40M is almost certainly an Audio Technica ATH-M70 OEM, while the Monacor CD laser stereo Kopfhörer MD-4000 best number 220080 appears to be the open back variant, the ATH-V7. There are many different reasons why a company would want to become an OEM for other brands, one of the most common being brand recognition in different parts of the world. I'm not sure why Audio Technica would allow Yamaha to compete directly with them on their home turf in Japan. Perhaps it was a simple market saturation strategy, but Audio Technica has typically been a much lesser known brand in Europe on the consumer level for headphones until the rise of the ATH-M50. So, for Monacor, historically a German importer of electronics from the East, it would make sense for them to distribute quality goods under their umbrella. While the company does persist today, they no longer distribute consumer products. Another notable historical OEM from Japan to the West you may have heard of are the NAD RP18s, which are fundamentally Fostex T50s. In general, the practice still continues to this day, although to a much lesser extent. So let's see what made these good enough to OEM to multiple markets. Picking up the Yamaha, it is clear that this headphone's build quality is excellent. The spring steel headband and suspension strap is attached directly to the adjustment sliders. There's a cable that goes through the suspension strap from the left to the right, and the whole design language lets you know that this is a piece of studio equipment, a tool meant to be used every day. As a work headphone, I think they completely nailed it. The combined ergonomics and low weight are on par with, or better than, even the legendary MDR CD900 and all its siblings. The Monacor CD laser stereo Kopfhörer MD-4000 best number 220080 is no different until you notice the cable. Comparing this with online images of the ATH-V7, we can see that the original Audio Technica actually has a single-sided cable entry like the Yamaha, and a substantial metal plug. So it looks like the Monacor CD laser stereo Kopfhörer MD-4000 best number 220080 was making a few extra money-saving changes of their own before bringing it to the market. Both units have a ring of thick foam around the driver that I believe does two things: helps reduce baffle vibrations and behaves like a base lens. Unfortunately, the baffles are connected with plastic rivets under the foam, and they've been melted to the baffles, so it's impossible to open these up without some light destruction, so we won't be looking at the drivers today. Both of these headphones came out in 1984, 1 year before the MDR CD900. Perhaps that's why nobody talks about these anymore. Let's pull up some graphs. As usual, I measured these headphones with the mini DSP ears. These graphs have compensation applied, which is something close to an equal loudness compensation. Basically, volume levels are shown relative to how most people might perceive them with their human ear holes. Clearly, there is something to be desired in both of these headphones. A quick comparison with the MDR CD900 ST immediately directs us to what's wrong with the mid-range tuning. The Yamaha has some problems maintaining linearity in the entire mid-range, but due to its completely sealed acoustic design and how easy it is to get a good bass seal, the sub-bass extension is spectacular. To be clear, this isn't an anomalous result. The bass in this headphone is beyond impressive for a 1984 closed-back headphone. When listening to Daft Punk's Doing It Right, the deep bass that comes in at 26 seconds is presented almost flawlessly, full of air and volume. Hans Zimmer's Why So Serious from the Dark Knight soundtrack at 3 minutes 26 lets you know what the limitations are. Here you start hearing something like subwoofer chuffing, and the driver seems to be limited by its excursion ability. However, with most bassy or electronic music tracks, you never get the sense of a lack of bass volume, but that finer level of detail or texture is still obviously missing even after some tone corrections. After those corrections, however, this is quite easily one of the most enjoyable closed-back headphones from the early 80s, possibly the best one I've heard from that era so far, especially with regard to closed-back studio headphones in general. It slams like a modern closed-back dynamic headphone and has just about enough detail to get by, but if you're a purist and you don't like using EQ or tone controls, these are definitely not worth your attention. So does the Monacor CD laser stereo Kopfhörer MD-4000 best number 220080 fare any better? Sadly, its acoustic performance lags behind its most pretentious title. The biggest problem is the dip from 400 to 1000 Hz, which makes everything sound dark and distant. On the whole, it sounds like these are on par with the Yamahas, aside from the bass linearity, and there is some potential that can be squeezed out of these yet. After rolling some random velour earpads, I stumbled on this result, which precisely fixes my main issue with them, turning them into something vaguely listenable. So while I don't think either of them are in of themselves good sounding headphones, you never know what kind of potential you can unlock when exchanging its earpads or applying corrections. For most, this will be an informative novelty episode, as finer vintages are available. Take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.